Welcome to another episode of Extreme Expat Stories of Thailand. Dear friend, I'm writing this long letter because I've been haunted by my story, and the only audience I can trust right now is you. Someone who has listened and helped so many people find meaning. I first stumbled upon your channel a few months ago when I was searching for anything to help me make sense of this mess of a life I'm living now. Today I'm far from home, in Udon Thani, Thailand, a place I moved to in the crazy hope of starting over. I never thought I'd end up pouring my heart out to a stranger's YouTube channel, but perhaps by sharing this, I can honor what happened and maybe, just maybe, help someone who is feeling exactly like I do. This is my story, beginning to end. At 44, I thought my life was over. My marriage had crumbled after my mother's death, leaving me drowning in grief in a cramped Cork apartment with a soul-crushing office job. When a friend jokingly suggested I try Thailand's countryside, something inside me snapped awake. I had gone from Ireland to Thailand once before. The memory of humid nights, temple bells at dusk, and the sweet sour taste of tamarind soup haunted me like a beautiful dream. So I did the unthinkable, bought a one-way ticket to Bangkok, and flew east with nothing but a beaten-up backpack and a heart full of desperate hope. Landing in Udon Thani in January of 2024 felt like kissing another world. The warm air hit with my Irish skin like a gentle slap, immediately coating me in perspiration. At the taxi stand, an old monk in saffron robes walked by holding a faded lotus flower. When I stammered, "Sawadi krab," he smiled softly and replied, "Sawadi tan farang." My first reminder of how foreign I truly was. I rented a modest room for 7,000 baht a month in a local soi, barely more than a bed, a lukewarm shower, and a fan that never stopped spinning. But the stars were bluer here, and for the first time in years, I felt something resembling hope creeping back into my chest. The first weeks were intoxicating chaos. I learned to ride a second-hand Honda Dream with training wheels, navigating streets that smell like grilled chicken and chili. Every tuk-tuk ride was an adventure, every meal a revelation. At the bustling UD night market near Nong Prajak Park, I finally tried real Thai coffee. Black, thick, bitter like the life I'd left behind. But somehow proof I was still alive. It was at Thalai Bua Dang, the famous red Lotus Lake, where everything changed. I hired a rickety wooden boat at dawn from a sleepy old man who made me practice Thai for a discount, laughing when I butchered the pronunciation. As we floated among thousands of pink lotus flowers leaning towards the rising sun, I heard a whisper, "Beautiful." That's when I saw her. Kaisa stood at the water's edge. Half her hair honey blonde, the other half black, eyes scrunched with pure delight. Her mother was Thai, father Swedish, and she grew up speaking both languages plus the local Isan dialect. When she accidentally mixed Swedish into her Thai, calling the lake Thalai Bua Röd, we both burst into laughter at the beautiful confusion. She was tall, striking, often wearing flowing skirts and carrying a camera. We started meeting by coincidence. Morning runs around the park, chance encounters at the sticky rice stalls. She called me Farang, but laughed when I tried to greet her properly in Thai. On our first coffee date in February, She ordered massive bowls of fiery papaya salad that left me sweating through my shirt. Toki, she giggled in Swedish. You are crazy. It was the first time someone had called me crazy and made it sound like love. That night, riding my motorbike home under the full moon with fish sauce still clinging to my clothes, I realized I was in trouble. I was falling hard and fast for this woman who existed between worlds, just like me. Our love bloomed like those lotus flowers we'd first seen together. We became inseparable. Connor from Ireland, and Kaisa from everywhere and nowhere, exploring Udon Thani hand in hand. During Songkran in April, Thailand's epic water festival, the city transformed into a massive water fight. I'll never forget Kaisa's playful scream and when neighborhood kids ambushed us with water guns. We ran through the flooded streets, soaking unsuspected monks, taxi drivers, and each other with my ridiculous elephant print water gun. It was pure sanuk, pure joy. When I tried to impress her with broken Thai, she'd hold my soaked face and gently correct my pronunciation like a mother teaching a wayward child. In May, we attended the Bun Bang Fei Rocket Festival in her village. Bamboo rockets filled with gunpowder blasting into gray skies to summon rain. We built and launched one together, the explosion shaking my chest with acceleration. That night, sitting on woven mats under palm trees lit only by bonfires, she slipped me a piece of sweet coconut candy, and I caught her eye in the flickering light. I wanted to say everything, but could only pull her into a hug, listening to distant rocket thunder and thinking maybe, finally, I was safe. She showed me the real Thailand, ringing hollow gongs at Wat Phothisomphon temple at noon, eating kai yang grilled chicken with sticky rice and fiery jia sauce at plastic tables under the stars. I helped at her mother's weaving stall and once spectacularly tripped carrying sticky rice up to their house, splattering it everywhere. As I laughed and tried scooping rice back into the pot, Kaisa giggled while her mother shook her head. In that ridiculous fall, I felt the warm chaos of a life I never knew I could have. Her family welcomed me like a son, or adopted Swedish son-in-law, as I jokingly complained. But beneath the golden glow of those perfect months, dark clouds were forming. Language barriers frustrated us both. At family gatherings, I'd accidentally mangled her mother's name in Thai, causing stern corrections followed by explosive laughter. Our different backgrounds clashed. She'd grown up poor, finding joy in simple temple visits and ice cream, while I was used to grand gestures and expensive dinners. When I took her to a fancy European steakhouse for her birthday, she hated everything. The tiny portions, stiff napkins, the sterile silence. After paying, she dragged me to a local market for somtam, fruit, and sticky rice to share under the stars. Here, kondang, she laughed, feeding me mango sticky rice piece by piece. I learned the real richness wasn't in four-star restaurants, but on those uneven mats under streetlights and fireflies. But money became our poison. I wanted to help, to prove I could contribute. Against her gentle protests, I borrowed money to invest in a noodle stall with her family. But have ghosts. Her mother had warned about foreign money, but I pushed ahead anyway. Kaisa's eyes went quiet when I announced my decision at our favorite rooftop karaoke bar. I appreciate what you want, she said slowly, but maybe this is not the way. She explained that my foreign money might feel like a curse to her family, creating debts and obligations that could tear them apart if things went wrong. I felt my Irish temper flare. I'd worked hard for those savings, wanted to build something good for us, but she was right about the cultural minefield I was stumbling through. We fought, sulked, apologized, but something fundamental had shifted between us. Determined to share my world too, I booked flights to Sweden for August, expensive tickets that cost nearly our month's rent. I thought meeting her absent father might bring closure, maybe answers to old wounds. Kaisa looked terrified. "You will be sorry," she half joked, but I could see real fear in her eyes. She hadn't been back since age 5, when he abandoned her and her mother for a better life in Stockholm, leaving them with rice field wages and broken promises. 3 days before we were meant to fly to Sweden, everything changed forever. July 12th of 2024. During the first week of Buddhist Lent, Udon Thani sweltered under oppressive heat. The city was preparing for the candle festival, streets filling with intricately carved wax candles and dragon floats. I'd spent the day applying gold leaf to ceremonial decorations while Kaisa cut flowers for the parade. That evening, we met at UD Town intersection where she brought me iced coffee from her favorite cafe. We held hands, tried catching mosquitoes, laughed like idiots in love. I remember thinking, this is how it should be forever. Then the monsoon hit like a hammer. Udon's storms are vicious, and that night the rain fell in torrents. The air turned thick and electric. Kaisa trembled behind me on the motorbike as we navigated flooding alleys. My cheap bike lights barely cut through the downpour, so we slowed to a crawl under the storm's fury. That's when we had the fight that destroyed everything. I don't even remember what triggered it. Stress about Sweden, the failed noodle investment, maybe just the claustrophobic pressure of the storm. But suddenly, she was screaming in the middle of the flooded street. "You don't even try to understand us Thai." Her words hit like lightning. I shouted back about loving Thailand, loving her, trying so hard to belong. "Then act like it," she snapped, her voice echoing off alley walls. In my hurt and anger, I said something unforgivable about being treated like an outsider after everything I'd sacrificed. We were both screaming now, voices lost in the hammering rain. When her motorcycle wobbled on the slick mud and gravel, in one horrific instant, I lost control. We slid sideways. The bike went down, and Kaisa flew off to the side. I screamed her name, skidding toward her on hands and knees through the mud, vision blurred by rain and terror. She was lying there, leg bent at an impossible angle, head resting against a concrete shard. Her eyes were glassy, unfocused. The sound of my heart breaking was louder than thunder. Neighbors rushed over with umbrellas, gasping at her pale face. Men in a pickup truck helped us race to the hospital while I clung to her hand, whispering, "I'm so sorry, please be okay," as her head lolled unconsciously. The emergency room filled with her family, her mother clasping my shoulder in shared grief, her aunt holding back sobs. The doctors murmured about a broken femur and internal bleeding. I stood outside, drenched and barefoot, while sheets of rain continued falling. One sentence from the doctor chills me still. "She's in critical condition. We'll do our best." For 72 agonizing hours, I lived in that stark hospital room. Kaisa lay on a ventilator, bruises covering her beautiful face. I whispered Swedish jokes I remembered, hoping she'd hear and wake up. My tears fell into her long black hair, which had come loose from its braid. On July 15th, just as dawn broke over Udon Thani, Kaisa took her last breath. The ventilator went silent like a candle, snuffed out. I held her lifeless hand, tears soaking the hospital blanket, and choked out, Jag älskar dig. I love you, Kaisa. Her mother thanked me through her own tears. Thank you for loving my daughter. Thank you for everything. All I could whisper back was Khop kun. The funeral blurred together, salt poured into flames, flowers scattered, prayers in languages I barely understood. She looked so small in that coffin, wearing the yellow shirt I'd bought her at Nong Prajak Market, only 26 years old, and gone forever because of my reckless driving in a storm. I couldn't stay in our shared spaces. Every corner held her laughter. I took a room near the hospital and sleepwalked through empty days. The local expat community sent condolences. Neighbors built a small shrine in the crash site with lotus flowers and her photograph. An elder shook my hand, saying, "My benrai, Connor, it's okay," even though nothing would ever be okay again. The worst nights were silent. I'd lie awake replaying our final argument, torturing myself with what-ifs. If I'd taken the main road instead of that muddy alley. If I hadn't insisted on driving through the storm. If I just listened when she said we should wait. The guilt ate me alive like acid in my veins. I found myself at Wat Phothisomphon temple, lighting incense and praying to Buddha and her spirit. An old monk sat with me under a Bodhi tree as sunset painted the sky. I poured out everything in broken Thai and English. He simply nodded and said, "Grief is like monsoon rain, my son. It will flood you, but it cannot flood forever. Patience and merit, that is the path to peace." But I was drowning. I drank too much whiskey at night markets, stumbled through work in a daze, could barely nod when her mother asked how I was doing. The pain was raw and visible, like an open wound you could see straight into my soul. In August, scrolling aimlessly through my phone, a video appeared about healing trauma in Peru. A man described losing everything, then finding peace through Ayahuasca ceremonies with Amazon shamans. His voice cut straight through my numbness. "You are not alone, but you must go where the forest can hear your sorrow and help you let it go." Something electric shot through me. Within 2 weeks, I'd booked flights to Lima, then Iquitos. In September 2024, heartbroken and desperate, I flew over the endless Amazon canopy toward a modest retreat center by a tributary river. My first ceremony began at nightfall. The elderly Shipibo shaman welcomed our small group with kind eyes and gentle warnings. The ayahuasca brew smelled like bitter licorice and earth. When I sipped the foul-tasting tea, warmth shivered down my spine. Hours passed in chanting and darkness. First, I saw nothing. Then the world began spinning. Patterns emerged on fabric. Glittering lights dancing. Then memory hit like a tsunami. I was 4 years old, running with my mother through Irish bluebells, smelling her perfume, feeling her warm hand. But the most powerful vision came next. I stood in that jungle clearing on the night of our accident. My guilt swirled overhead in ash-colored letters. This is my fault. I never believed I'd lose you. I'm so sorry. Then she emerged from the darkness. Kaisa, in her yellow hospital shirt, looking so real I could see raindrops on her cheeks. She smiled with infinite gentleness and said in perfect Swedish, "It is not your fault." I tried to speak, but no sound came. She reached out, placed her warm hand on mine, and I felt love flood in like a breaking wave. "Don't let this break you too," she whispered as we stood together by our broken motorcycle. "The love we shared is still alive in you. You must live, for both of us now." I vomited up months of poisonous guilt, shame, and choked back tears. When dawn finally came, I walked barefoot to the riverbank under impossible star patterns reflecting in dark water. For the first time since she died, I felt something like peace. 3 ceremonies over 10 days brought up childhood heartbreaks, buried memories, and unspoken regrets. But each time, her message remained constant. Forgive yourself. Live fully. Carry your love forward. Returning to Bangkok in October, then back to Udon Thani in November, I found the red Lotus Lake had peaked while I was gone. But the locals say lotus seeds take time. Maybe next February the blooms would return under the sun. I forced myself to re-engage with life. I visited the roadside shrine with her photograph every morning, lighting incense and telling her about my jungle journey. "You were a teacher for this lost old Farang too," I'd say, while neighborhood children came to pray, tugging my shirt and calling her Kun Kaisa. During December's Loi Krathong festival, I made a lone krathong basket from banana leaves, floated it in Nong Prajak Lake with 1 candle and 1 incense stick. "Let me float this for you," I whispered in Thai as the flame bobbed among hundreds of others, feeling her presence everywhere and nowhere at once. Every day, something in me remains missing. Thai pop songs make me startle. Jasmine scents bring equal measures of beauty and grief. But I have changed. The Western impatience has slowed. I sit at dawn by lotus ponds alone, thinking. I cook somtam and leave an empty chair beside me at the table. I still attend the city's festivals. Songkran waters, candle festival lights, Red Cross fairs. Everything feels utterly different without her, yet strangely still connected. Once I glimpsed a wax statue that looked so much like Kaisa I had to look twice. I placed flowers at its base and said a prayer I half understood. Her father never came to Thailand. By the time grief loosened its grip enough for me to possibly face Sweden, that door had closed. Maybe that's for the best. I don't know what I would have done meeting him in the ashes of her death. I write this story because everyone here has already said Mai Pen Rai, and I needed to hear it from strangers who understand. Because I know others out there have lost someone who changed everything just by existing in their world. Life in Udon will never be the same without Kaisa's laughter guiding me through its beautiful chaos. I'll always be half lost without her. But maybe through this journey of love, loss, and healing, I've learned that love and grief intertwine like lotus roots, painful but transformative. I work at the cafe by the city shrine, serving Thai tea to reluctant monks and bored tourists. I visit her mother on birthdays, planted lotus flowers in her name in my small garden, volunteer at the temple like she always wanted to do. I remember the vision that saved me. We were meant to meet, and my path now is living for both of us. I miss Kaisa every single day, but I carry the pain because it means I loved completely. And maybe one day someone will say about me what she meant to everyone who knew her. That some people change your life just by being in it. The love we shared in those perfect months under Thai stars doesn't die with the body. It lives on in every flower I buy at the market, every kopkun I say to helpful strangers, every time I almost slip into despair but whisper her name instead. We were meant to meet. The rest is learning how to live with a love too big for one heart to hold. Mai Penrai, Kaisa, Mai Penrai. Thank you for reading this long letter. Thank you for making a space where people like me can share their souls. I'm not sure if I needed answers or just needed to write it down, but I feel a little less alone putting it into words. If my story can help even one person out there, or even remind them to hold their loved ones a little closer tonight, it will not have been in vain. I miss Kaisa every day. I still hope some thread of her story continues through me, even if she's moved on. As that last vision in Peru told me, we were meant to meet, and my path is to live for both of us now. In sorrow and with gratitude. Connor.